The doctor was astonished to see the triplets that came out from this mother. Every parent experiences a mysterious and wondrous journey along the way, no matter how their children come into the world. Nonetheless, the couple below, Rachel and Aaron Halbert, have a more surreal story than any other couple. The medical professionals could not believe their eyes as they brought their triplets into the world. Something was out of the norm, or perhaps even wrong. A few of the hospital's medical staff also wondered whether something had happened previously, or if the Halberts had concealed evidence from their doctors and loved ones. Even the other members of their family could not believe the pictures, such as the one above. Eventually, though, everyone would find out that Rachel and Aaron Halbert had orchestrated this fantastic, extraordinary birth right from the start. Rachel and Aaron Halbert hailed from different corners of the world. Within the Mississippi Delta, she had a typical childhood, and meanwhile he was born and raised mostly as a son of evangelical missionaries in Honduras. She was not familiar with racial diversity, but as the only blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy in his old neighborhood, Aaron knew it very well. As a young adult, Rachel started going on mission trips to Haiti. In the hope of finding more roles and expertise, an action plan will be developed shortly afterward. What has life stored up for her? They knew about each other in 2004 during a blind date. It was basically love at first sight. They have both been modest and wanted the gospel to change things for the better. The pair were missionaries as well. From that day forward, they believed their plans for the future would contain a wedding and a family. They were not in a hurry, though. They, therefore, chose to keep dating from time to time, getting to know each other better. Furthermore, their work as missionaries allowed them to work together as well. Therefore, the two began to see each other, with no innate understanding of what it soon would lead to. During their missionary journeys, they got more comfortable and familiar. Slowly, over time, their relationship became secure and exclusive. They continued dating and developed a unique bond, since they both wanted to adopt children. When we were still dating, a common bond that drew us together was the fact that Rachel and I both wanted to adopt, Aaron revealed to the Washington Post. So even though technically the couple would have no trouble trying to conceive their very own baby, they felt that it was their Christian duty to adopt a child. Aaron said, while we were fertile, we were both deeply convicted that one of the ways to be pro-life is to involve ourselves in adoption. Until the time that the two began talking about adoption, they seemed to have no serious concerns that they would stay together for the rest of their lives. Aaron got down on one knee shortly after and asked Rachel to be his wife. Rachel answered with a big yes. They just cannot wait to live together for the rest of their lives. Thus, the wedding planning started right away, and soon enough, it was time to walk down the aisle. All too many people spend their entire adulthood looking for their one and only, though not for Aaron and Rachel Halbert. They had not only met each other early on, they exchanged even their profound beliefs. The bride and groom exchanged heartfelt vows at the altar in 2006. Although the now married missionaries were desperately ready to have children, they agreed to wait. They also aspired to maintain their work as missionaries as much as they wanted to become parents, and start a family would make that significantly more difficult. The pair felt confident that there would be an opportunity soon enough for children to present themselves, yet a new mission arose in front of them before they knew it. They received an offer to come back to Honduras not long after they got married. The husband and wife decided to join the mission and, later that year, flew to Aaron's hometown. Rachel was nervous and excited and eager to go home as well. She couldn't wait to see where Aaron was born and raised. The missionaries served as English teachers at the school just outside Tegucigalpa. It may not have been your romantic getaway idea, but it was best suited to them. After they got there, however, they began to notice certain flaws in the area. They had voiced out their concerns about the needs of the community after being there for months. They came to realize that churches need to teach the Word of God. After that day, the Halberts knew they had a mission to meet and exceed. Sad to say, it was time for them to go back home. They were trying to stick around and improve the situation, entirely had other plans. Still, the community wasn't entirely overlooked. They went straight back to Mississippi right after they finished their mission, and all were satisfied with their work there. A breakthrough awaited them at home. They settled back into their old everyday life, and somehow Aaron had another lifelong goal. He always talked about wanting to get a Master of Divinity, which is the first pastoral degree in the States. He, therefore, decided to enroll at the Reformed Theological Seminary in Jackson, Mississippi, and they've always thought about heading back to Honduras every time. A few years later, they started looking to have their own kid. Would they conceive or perhaps just adopt a child? They were striving to maintain serving their community in Mississippi. They had been missionaries, so they felt like their job never came to an end. Rachel helped teach at the local school while Aaron worked as an intern and youth director at the Second Presbyterian School in Yazoo City. At the moment, they started to consider adoption more. We see the protection of children not as charity nor as part of a political agenda, but as something near to the heart of God, Aaron proceeded to explain as he had spoken to the Washington Post. They also took a bit of time to consider going back to Honduras. Aaron did grow up there and they knew the needs of the community. They went back on a mission with the Presbyterian Church of America. They attempted to conceive naturally and also went to visit the Mississippi Adoption Agency. They were mentally prepared to start a family of their own and wanted a child that they wanted. They spent a day at the agency and they figured out a lot of things. Upon taking a trip to the adoption agency, they made the decision that just like that, They soon realized it was challenging to find suitable families for non-Caucasian young kids. The pair said that they were willing to adopt any child, but an entirely Caucasian child. They did think that if they got turned down, God intended for them to have their own kid. Aaron also said, "We did this with the deeply held conviction that if the Lord wanted us to have a fully Caucasian child, my wife would conceive naturally." So how does this pair get things done? The department was quick to find the Halberts babies. They have made the right call. In the final moment, they fell madly in love with two kids, an African-American boy and a girl of descent. They had not been able to choose and decided to adopt both. Ford and Catherine were adopted, letting it be known that race would have a substantial role in the family. Of course, as a racially diverse family, the couple also wondered what major problems would stand in their way. Amidst all that, they knew they could handle anything that would happen. They had another conversation shortly after adopting the twins. Aaron and Rachel were looking for more children. However, their new children kept them busy so that it could not be the best time. Despite everything, when they came across a friend who encouraged them to see if embryos were taken, they took it as a sign. The pair did their homework and read the subject. Before that moment, they never heard of it. They got the most out of it in the next few weeks. What they found out about it couldn't be believed. We live in a world where hundreds of thousands of embryos are only frozen in the United States, Aaron said. Most of the ones whose biological parent is not selected are donated to science, destroyed, or frozen. The adoption of embryos helps others to adopt and use embryos. The idea struck the couple. They had felt duty-bound to do something about it after doing their research. This will ensure that Rachel gets pregnant and carries the baby herself. Yet the key reason they did this was their convictions. Aaron said if Christians or others truly believe that life starts at conception, then it follows that we should respond by being willing to encourage embryo adoption and even to partake in it ourselves. As they made up their minds, they started the process as soon as they went to the National Embryo Donation Center. Rachel Halbert was eager to get the process started. At the same time, however, she was afraid and anxious. She had to go through several treatments to prepare for the adoption of the embryo. Everything had gone right. She was able to go into the in vitro fertilization process in September 2015. At that point, the only thing they had to do was wait and hope for the best. The adoption of embryos is under no circumstance easy. As with regular in vitro fertilization, there are plenty of obstacles to jump to make sure everything is in order. Be it as it may, they also need a fair amount of luck. The procedure requires months before surgery to go on hormone treatments. The woman has only a 10% chance that despite everything, the embryo will take. The cost is also high because it costs about $10,000 to $15,000. Most insurances do not cover the process, so you can see why they needed to be worried. We could say that they prepared themselves to return for their missionary work in Honduras. At the time, they expected to see the result of the implantation if it was successful or not. Rachel and Aaron, with Catherine and Ford, flew their way to Honduras because the group knew that they had no time to waste. It was 6 weeks after the group decided to visit a local hospital where the embryo was transferred. The group waited for the results and was hoping it was a success. The 4 of them even understood that there was a chance that it would fail. However, when they arrived at the venue, they spoke to a doctor in the hospital. The group tried to talk with the doctor in broken English. They tried to explain their condition. In their conversation with the doctor, the medical practitioner was puzzled. He understood the meaning of in vitro fertilization, however, he was not sure if it was applicable to the situation. The doctor asked the group if they were confident that only 2 embryos were transferred. They convincingly answered yes, and that they were sure there were only 2 embryos that were moved. The couple, Rachel and Aaron, were thrilled because of the result. However, the practitioner had another different news. Later, they would realize why he always asked how many embryos were moved. The Honduran medical practitioner exhibited the result of the ultrasound to the couple. The pair understood it immediately that Rachel was carrying 3 fetuses. They would be having a triplet, which would make them a family of 7 people. The couple could not believe how it happened, but they were still happy. They thought it was a sign from God, and everything was according to His plan. The 2 planned to have a big family, and now they were getting their wish granted. The couple, Aaron and Rachel, were excited about their triplets. They could not wait for their children to arrive. However, Ford and Catherine were much delighted with the situation. The father of the triplets posted on Facebook that, "I felt sheer delight during this pregnancy watching my son and daughter, with his dark brown skin, her with the ringlet hair and slightly tan skin, kiss my white wife's growing belly. Each evening they say goodnight to those 3 growing little girls in her belly. The kids were even exhilarated about their little sisters. Later, it was time to welcome their triplets into their family." In the year 2016, Halberts welcomed their newly born triplets, named Anne, Whitley, and Riley. The family did not plan the 3 little angels at the beginning. However, it was a blessing for them when the little ones came into their family. The fathers shared, "Oh, how thankful we are for God blessing us with these sweet little ones He has placed in our care." The triplets with their other children were a wonderful gift to him. He also stated, "As I look at my growing family, I prefer to take it a step further, daring to hope that our family picture is a little hint of heaven." The triplets might not be related by blood to their family, yet the couple, Aaron and Rachel, were glad they were part of the family. They were proud to call them their newly born children, their kids. The pair loved to have an interracial family. The father stated, "The beauty of a multi-ethnic family is found there in the fact that the differences are the very thing that makes ours richer and fuller. It forces you to think in a new way about the way you think, speak, act, and live. There is something beautiful and enriching being the only white face sitting and chatting with some of my African American friends as my son gets his hair cut on a Saturday morning." The whole family got many supporters all over the world. Aaron said, "It's been heartening to see virtually all of our friends and family express overwhelming support for our family and the unusual ways we've built it. The family was so happy about achieving their dream." The father added, "In our minds, we are just living out our dream, a dream that may not look like the average family, but one that we are thankful could come true in light of our country's history." However, some people did not agree about their decision to be a multi-ethnic family. Aaron explained, "We knew, especially in the South, that a white couple with non-white children would draw a myriad of different reactions. There will always be the older white woman in Walmart who stared at us with sheer disgust, or the African-American mother who looked at us and just shook her head. The father also added in the interview on the Washington Post, "There was also the young black girl who wept when we told her this little boy with her skin color was our son, and the older white doctor who lovingly prayed over him and held him tenderly." The family knew that there would always be a chance they would get an awkward look from other people. The Halberts also understood that some people considered diversity. However, they did not need the blessing of those people. Aaron stated that one of the central themes of Christianity is, after all, that God, through His Son, is calling people from every tongue, tribe, and nation. Grasping diversity will make the world more reliable as we marvel at God's creative genius on display through His people's different pigments, personalities, and proficiencies. Our differences are cause for celebration, not scorn. Rachel explained to the public that embryo adoption can also be complicated for the donor family. "I know the decision to donate your frozen embryos for adoption is probably the hardest you'll ever make." She also felt pity for an individual who yielded their child because of their reason. She stated, "It can be so painful to know that someone else is raising your biological child. For some reason, whether medical or family size, or financial or age, you are unable to have any more transfers." Embryo adoption was not the kind of process anyone would take. However, it was a perfect idea for the couple, Aaron and Rachel, who were blessed with their triplets. The procedure made her understand the feeling of being a parent. The mother described the experience as beautiful and unique. She was also grateful for the brave and selfless biological parents who were willing to donate embryos. The family understood how important embryo adoption was, and it was similar to the standard adoption of a child. They also knew some people knew about the process. In reality, millions of embryos are waiting to be adopted. The 2 embryos that were transferred were resting for 12 years. Rachel stated, "We were not saying that those lives are any more important than the lives of the babies and children waiting to be adopted all across the world. No, they are not any more important, but they are no less important either. All of our children's lives are values." Most mothers would tell having a child was a great way to minimize their free time. If we thought about it, the Halbert had 5 kids in their family. This household would surely be lively because of their children. Rachel adored taking care of her children. She stated that, "I would imagine that my life as mom looks a whole lot like the life of any mom. My days are filled with feeding 5 hungry kiddos, changing lots of diapers, tending to household duties, shepherding little hearts, loving on and playing with all 5, doing/learning how to do the hair of 4 beautiful girls and 1 handsome little guy, and finding a minute or 2 to eat some food myself." The Halberts planned to have an adoption in which they were prepared if something miserable would happen. However, their decision resulted in a blessing. Rachel wanted 4 to 5 children in their family, and her wishes were granted immediately. We could say love could make a perfect family. Their children were also happy in their life with their parents. The couple, Aaron and Rachel, were loving parents and taught their kids some proper manners. We hope their kids would have the same feeling, kindness, and perception as their parents do. Did the family want any more kids after their triplets? We cannot answer that yet. However, Rachel explained, "We'll see what the future holds. For now, we are enjoying this phase of life right now. The only thing we know that they were busy taking care of their children." The couple anticipated their family story would make people contemplate embryo adoption. We could say they were happy to have kids because of the process. However, it did not affect their jobs as missionaries in Honduras. The triplets were not welcomed into their family and they moved into Tegucigalpa. The couple, Aaron and Rachel, shared their story to those who needed their experience. They also helped each other with the responsibilities of their children. However, Rachel became a full-time mom, and we could not blame her because she was having fun taking care of her 5 kids even though the Halberts were still spreading the gospel to everyone. Rachel and Aaron did their job as missionaries in Tegucigalpa. Their kids were growing up in Honduras and America. The family had a photo which was different from other portraits. The Halberts loved each other so much, which made them a real example of a warm family. The couple showed us everything that they preached. They showed how kind and affectionate they were with their children. It also showed the true meaning of humanity. It indeed was a fantastic family story.